Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newest episode of the Introduction Podcast. I'm excited to have a conversation with Hirak because today we're going to talk about claims and we're going to talk a lot. So, Hirak, thank you so much for joining the show. Please tell us more about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Myself, I have been a technologist for about 20 years now, and half of the time spent in financial industries, insurance domain primarily. In my current avatar, I am accountable for the general insurance core platforms and services for TD Insurance. And in general, I have also been part of many, major transformation programs all throughout North America. I do have a little kid, and my weekends basically go being the chauffeur, do whatever she plans to. But yeah, that's pretty much how my days go.
It's an amazing. I know it's going to be an amazing conversation because you are pretty active on LinkedIn and you have amazing, great posts. Like if you guys haven't seen, didn't know about Hirak, I'm going to leave your LinkedIn in the show notes below to go and read those posts. And I saw that you wrote that every time a senior adjuster overrides an AI recommendation and like that judgment isn't really recorded anywhere means that the competitive advantage that the company has is basically disappearing. So if you have an AI and you spend all this money and time into training an AI to suggest something to your people, and now suddenly your people make different decisions because sometimes, it's two different things. What people think is going to be best and what AI think is going to be best. And you do not really catch this reason why you said that it's a big problem. When was the actual moment that you saw that it's happening? What made you realize that that's like a big problem to write about it?
Yeah. So, as you can understand, in my role, we do see a lot of AI solutions coming across our way. Businesses interested in some solutions, technology leadership. And one thing I keep on missing is everyone sort of talks about building the next big AI agent and the AI agentic workflow. But everybody, I felt, sort of misses one important point where in order for the AI to be successful, we have to first sort of understand what is happening in the business today.
Mm-hmm.
And we pretty much have very good idea about things, business workflows, when everything goes as per plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel that we are not spending enough time talking about and figuring out the workflows when things don't go as per plan. And that is where we have all these business SMEs who apply their judgments, right? I've seen in the automation space, in the RPA space, or in the new AI space, how many times we will see that the automated solution created some kind of a reserve limit for a particular claim, particular exposure, right? And a senior application user goes in and changes the reserve amount, increases it, because as per her experience, like she knows that this type of claim would cost us more. And she is usually right. She has been right. Everybody knows she is right. And she has had a long career, right? And this is what I call the judgment layer, right? This judgment layer is what we need to focus more on because the company is paying for it. The company is paying for the judgment and we will be throwing it away if we did not document it properly, account for it, and made it part of the feedback loop and the training of the AI solution. So that's where I thought, maybe I should start writing about this new angle, which I don't see a lot of people writing about, where we are still welcoming AI and agentic solutions, but we are also cognizant of the gaps and making sure those are also, being thought about.
What do you think is the problem that this happens? Is this the technology gap? Is this the governance gap? Is this the human problem that they just, suddenly if you make your people go and document why they made every change, that it would give, drive irritation from them. What do you think is the main issue here? Where is that causing the main problem to happen?
Yeah. So everyone reads it as a technology problem because, there is a system involved. But the way I look at it, it is a business workflow problem. It is an operating model problem. And because this judgment layer sits sort of in the middle of the technology and the business. And you are right. Like if we look at it as a technology problem and now we mandate everyone documenting all their judgments before they take any action, that is gonna be a big user irritant. So we have to be cognizant of that when we are designing the solution. We do need that information documented because that is the training data for the model to keep improving itself. How do we do it? That is where we need to spend more time. How do we capture the judgment, the context of these users without having to add a lot of free text fields and telling them to mandatory add some notes here because we all know that never works out.
Yeah. I mean, in your experience, you personally watched more than 10 carriers go through a real platform transformation, and now you're running one yourself. What do you think is like the number one biggest blocker for that transformation in the platform that you have seen? Or would this be related to this judgment problem that we're discussing, or is it going to be something else?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I will step out of the AI for a minute.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
talk
because its
about this,
transformation is the
right?
same. Yeah.
When we talk about transformation, what normally most of the people I've seen think about are the data migration challenges, the cost getting overblown, not scope not planned properly. This would be what people normally talk about. The way I look at it, having done this so many times, is the software, the cost, and the licenses are the smallest part of what you are buying because that's fine, that's the year one or a year two pain that goes away. What people do not think about when choosing a target platform, when designing this whole transformation, is this is also something that will shape your engineering organization for the next decade. What skills do you have? What skills do you need? What talent are you going to hire? And do you even have that kind of talent market in your vicinity? What kind of training you do? Give you an example, and without taking any names or without going into specifics, let's say you have a infrastructure service organization as part of your overall technology services. And now you select a platform that sold you on more self-service. And it is, let's say, a SaaS platform. You don't need as big a technology ITS infrastructure service operation anymore because the software vendor takes care of it. And now your knowledge of all your infrastructure is gone because that team is disbanded. What happens if you go into a newer version of that software? Same software company, newer cloud, and now they're telling, what, we have taken a business decision that we will not do a lot of self-service work that we have been doing for you. We are enabling you as a customer to do all these yourselves. But now I did not account for that additional resource need. I lost my knowledge. So I have to now redesign my engineering organization, rehire those people who would do this work, and so on and so forth. So I look at, in summary, migration work is less to do with the actual software licenses and the data, more to do with, is this the right engineering decision? Is this the right organization decision?
Some people would say, yeah, it is a problem, but right now we can just spin 10,000 agents, or the platform will be agent powered. They will just upsell you these AI agentic features, and you have to have all these people. But at the same time, you start hitting walls when you have systems that were built for humans. When it's with human UI, and previously when RPA was a thing, it was breaking all the time. You paid for RPA, but the real money that they were making was for optimization, for making sure that it's still working, for RPA engineers, and you had to have a separate team just to make sure that this automation works. Aren't you thinking that the same is going to happen to AI? that right now, yes, AI will be maybe make some things easier, but in the end, it's going to be the same story. It will be breaking, and you'll still have to anyway have the people that would maintain it, like those agents that are running.
Yeah. So there are two things here. A is when AI does not succeed. Like, what are the exception scenarios where AI will not be successful?
Mhm.
And these will be things that have not been written down, right? Traditionally, we design our solution keeping human users in mind, which means if there is
Mhm.
an exception and you need to take a decision, there are visual cues in the application. Some of the field gets red, for example, right? Something is
Mhm.
wrong. Or you get a banner, a warning banner on your web page. You go into a separate tab to take some data, get some context, and come back to your original tab to take some actions.
Mhm.
So first problem is how do you even translate this into an AI agent,
Mhm.
right? You
Yeah.
cannot translate this very easily into an API form, which the AI agent will need.
Mhm.
And this is what I call the context layer. You have to build and rebuild your context layer if you want an AI agentic solution that does not fail every so often.
Mhm.
Once you have that context layer and you have your AI solution, then you basically have standardized prompts which work most of the time. It does not break, until you introduce a new functionality. So when you are building new functionality, now you have to also introduce best practices, your do's and don'ts of building new software to make it and keep it compatible to AI agents.
Mhm.
So it's a rethinking. We are not only talking about HCD now, right?
Mhm.
We are talking about AI agent compatibility in our user interfaces and in our solutions.
Mhm.
But having said that, even after doing all these things, your AI will keep improving. Your AI models will change. Companies and vendors will go away. We have seen that in the early 2000s with the internet browser, right?
Mhm.
So you still have to control and have some kind of a portability in your solution for you to be able to mutate and migrate to the current, biggest and best AI solution provider.
Interesting. If we circle back a bit to the insurance, it's a very exception based business because there's a lot of exceptions and a lot of judgment that is involved in the case. And there are probably some cases where AI can decide on their own. And there are also cases where their decision is going to be wrong. And in the examples you mentioned, a person can override them. And in most of the cases, the person will be ready because she has seen the same pattern happening over and over again. So it knows that the estimate is wrong. So the question is like, when do you start? How do you really understand which decisions that AI made are good and which decisions need to be overridden by the human? And at the same time, how to make sure that the human is not making a mistake? Because I was doing a podcast with a different guest and they told me that they noticed that humans were doing basically not fraudulent, but it was behavior that was serving the interest of that specific person more than the interest of the company. So AI was taking, let's say, a more conservative way to solve the problem, and the human was always doing the way that the company was paying more. So how do you really solve that? I mean, that's a big question to answer, but I'm curious just what was the main guideline that you found out? So like if you just hold on to this line, it's gonna be better. You can solve this.
Yeah, so there are few things in that question, and let me break it down.
Mm-hmm.
First, we need to think about, in the last, topic I mentioned about how AI can be successful more often.
Mm-hmm.
So drawing from the same line of thought, first we have to think about what kind of, limits that we are setting for the AI solution, what AI can and cannot do,
Mm-hmm.
what defaults AI sort of chooses for a certain type of action. The way we do it today, and you would see it in many organizations, is we will create a committee, sort of an AI committee,
Mm-hmm.
who takes the decision, right? Okay, for this application, this will be the AI software provider, and these will be the defaults.
Mm-hmm.
It can be default limits. It can be default rules, like various types of default, right? Configuration. And that is one of the things which I feel we have to sort of change the thought process a little in, because you see what happens. A A committee is very good at stopping bad decisions, but a committee is terrible at making sharp decisions. And I call it consensus depth. Like when you are looking for consensus in everything, you create an average solution, which does not really help anybody. So that is where I am proposing that it is always the workflow owner, the owner of that department, owner of the business workflow, who should have the autonomy in deciding what the AI can and cannot do, what kind of limits and restrictions of the AI solution in that particular area will have. And that could mean in the same application, AI agent will have different types of rules and limitations for different types of actions. So that will take care of making your AI solutions much more functional and less exception process. Then you talk about, okay, but what happens if AI makes a mistake? The current regulatory environment requires decision provenance from us, right? At least in Canada and America, I'm sure most of the world, insurance requires decision provenance. We cannot say, oops, an AI agent did it, right? You need to have a name attached. So how do we do it? And we do it using the oversight workforce. Oversight workforce would be this human team who would oversee the AI agents, correct them if they are wrong, and then take certain decisions. And this ties to what you said. There could be some times where this oversight workforce, it is also called human in the loop, right? I think that is a much more popular keyword going on. Problem with human in the loop is that it does not work in its current state, Nick. Why it does not work? Two problems. A, the one that you mentioned, a human is always looking out for himself. Their decisions will always be tied to somewhat to their personal benefit. Not that may or may not be aligned with the organization benefit. And you gave that example. And the second reason why human in the loop does not work is it is simply the human mind. You are giving a person authority to oversee an AI agent, and 8 out of 10 times the AI gets it right. And we are expecting this human to catch the other 2 times it got wrong. That would not happen because pattern recognition, they will more often they will oversee even those mistakes as well. So we have to actually create this oversight workforce. It is a different kind of person. It is a different kind of training.
True.
It's a different kind of compensation structure, and this is one of the things, Nick, that I don't see people discuss about. It is almost always like, okay, let's bring in the AI agents and the existing agents will be the approvers and the reviewers. It does not work that way.
Interesting. I haven't heard that thing publicly. I think, and I speak a lot about it in my work life at what we do as the company, but I haven't seen this as a public debate. And I also want to talk with you about one more topic that is also can be a little bit controversial, which is a debate between automation and optimization. So you can go and you can now with AI agents, you can automate a lot of stuff. But smart leaders or some leaders, they say, listen, it doesn't make sense to get an AI agent to do the same steps that the human was doing. Maybe it took human 15 steps to do the thing. But for an agent, it's actually, if we just redesign this process from the ground up, having agent in mind and build this for an agent is going to be 7 steps. So we can cut the process by 50%. When do you think it makes sense to sit down and optimize the process, and where it's just automation, where you can just replace what humans are doing?
Yeah. So I was in an executive forum, I think last month. I think it was in June. And, the gentleman made this great comment that, automating a bad process gives you bad results faster and at scale, right? So that resonated with me. And this is a great question because 9 out of 10 current AI quote unquote AI solutions are actually automation use cases, right? We are not revisiting the case itself, the workflow itself. And I will give you some of the examples of things that are so ingrained in our heads. We think that is the normal, but that does not have to be normal in the future AI world. that we are going to live in. For example, let's say underwriting questionnaire, right? We ask a lot of questions to the
Mm-hmm.
customer to find out more about the customer that we are selling the policy. And
Mm-hmm.
I maintain the core general insurance application for TD insurance. So I know that, right? Why do we have to ask all these questions? Like, if you are an AI agent, why can't you just tell the customer to upload their policy document and license
Mm-hmm.
and then use various open data available by various regulatory bodies to get the, loss history and license history, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you get most of the answers, right? You are not really a human anymore on a phone
Mm-hmm.
with the customer. You are an AI agent. You have immense reach now.
Mm-hmm.
Another example, let's say the yearly renewal, and this could be controversial. There could be some legal implications to it. So I'm not advocating we change things, but I'm advocating that we revisit this thing, even from regulatory lens. So why do I need a yearly renewal of policy anymore in the AI world, right?
Mm-hmm.
We needed it in the human world because human brains work in batches, and it is easy for us to come to the office in the morning to see which policies are up for renewal, review them, re-rate them, and then hit that renewal button.
Mm-hmm.
And we have carried that on from the old legacy days into the current web application days as well. There is always a nightly renewal batch that works. Why does it have to be this way in an AI world? I should be able to re-rate my policy anytime, in real time, multiple times a month. Who is stopping me? And if I'm doing a good job, I'm actually probably I'm, reducing the cost for the customer, in real time without having for him or her to wait for the end of the year to get a new term.
This is amazing. I have never thought about it this way.
Yeah. So these are the things, when we talk about automation versus and these are the kind of things that, made me write things in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So because I don't see people talking about these things, everybody is just so excited in bringing in AI. Nobody's talking about the things that matter, the boundaries, the pillars like this.
It's amazing. And I think that folks in the audience that are listening to this right now, they already reached the point where some of them are thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. I have never thought about this from this perspective. And I want the judgment to be recorded. I do not want to lose this knowledge that my humans, that my best employees possess once they close the file, or even worse, once they leave the company. Because the moment they leave, somebody that was doing claims for 10 years in your organization, they leave, boom, like the whole block of knowledge really evaporates. So what would you recommend for these leaders to do in order to, like, what is the good first step to start capturing this knowledge, to turn this into an asset that they can use and reuse? Because honestly, if you have that kind of understanding of how people work and their judgment, it's not only for AI agents, it's not only for fine-tuning your agents, it's also an indication for you and analytics, how people are actually working, how is best to do the process, what is the difference between your top employee and your average employee that is doing claims, for example. It's not only like an AI adjustment tool, it's also an analytics tool. So there is a lot of applications of this asset. What would you say? What would you recommend where to start?
Yeah. So first thing for every organization, whether you are doing AI already or whether you are planning to do it very soon, the first step is always finding out things that has never been written down. Right? That should be the first step. Find the override moments. And this is less of a technology problem, more of a workflow model problem. Find out the override moments. And then we have to, second step would be to figure out the right solution to document the override problem.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, we talked about giving a free text box does not work, right? So what we need to do, one of the solutions that I have been thinking for some of my applications is it has to be a drop down, and you did an override, you have a reason drop down.
Mm-hmm.
You select the right reason why you overrode instead of a free text box. Now, let's say none of the existing reasons available in your dropdown is actually fitting your needs. So there will be a other option that gives you a text box where you write down your core reason.
Mhm.
But then an automation solution, AI-based automation solution, hopefully, should in real time understand this other, the node that was written under other, and convert it into a standardized text, make it
Mhm.
part of the drop down on the next day morning that should be available. And this is where selection is much better than telling people to write down on a blank
Mhm.
text box. So first step, we talked about override moments, identify them. Second step we talk about is find a way to capture them in a good user experience manner. And the third step, what you just mentioned, that now this data, this judgment data is the only proprietary data in the building that the
Mhm.
organization has. So
Mhm.
we have to guard it like how we guard a claims or a policy information. This part has to be made part of the core data, have
Mhm.
to be fed into our reporting, into our training, and into our automation. So
Mhm.
this is the 1, 2, 3 that I am thinking, and I would recommend, other peers who are in the same space, same journey to also think about.
Amazing. I can already tell you we need a second episode because while you were answering, I also had like million of questions popping in my head that I wanted to talk with you about. But we're at the end of our episode. So for the audience, whenever they want to talk with you about something, ask you some additional questions or just say hi, what would be the best place to reach you on?
I check LinkedIn. I'm not very frequent on LinkedIn, but I do check it couple of times, 2, 3 times a week. So I can be reached out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can also be reached out via email, and it is mail@hirakchatterjee.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, I will go through all these emails. I will respond, sparingly wherever, it calls for a conversation. But I welcome any engagement. Hopefully we do it in LinkedIn so that it benefits the general public as well.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.